Thank you very much indeed. Good afternoon to all of you, both here in the room and on the web. It's my great pleasure to be here. I'm going to take you through a very brief presentation outlining some of the other funds that are available. I will be also emphasising some of the things that were said this morning. My colleague Luca spoke a little bit about the remit of Scotland Europa. Scotland Europa have colleagues based in Brussels and in Scotland. I'm based in Scotland, but it's interesting to note that Scotland Europa is co-managed by the two managers, Leslie Cannon, who's in the room today, and Sarah English, who is in Brussels. So there will be an opportunity to speak to us at the workshops later. What I would like to also speak to you about, and I've outlined it just here, Stuart Francie earlier today outlined the importance of the synergies between Horizon 2020 and the cohesion funds, structural funds, and vice versa. So I would just like to give you a little flavour of that today. So we're going to speak about the European structural and investment funds, territorial cooperation, kind of commonly known as Interreg, the LIFE programme for environment and climate action, commonly known as the LIFE programme, technical assistance, ARENA and EEF, and Erasmus. So I think Stuart also earlier today spoke just very briefly about the UK partnership agreement and a little bit about the Scottish chapter and the vision of the Scottish government and their stakeholders and partners. The integrated approach that they are trying to take to the delivery of the four funds. And I can't emphasise enough how there will be an opportunity later on this afternoon for the one-to-one sessions. We have a range of experts here to speak about that. So, the European Regional Development Fund, clearly it has sectors and public sector for the lead, but there will be an opportunity for SMEs to engage but not be direct applicants. Kind of circular about 400 million available. The European Social Funds, again, 400 million. European Agricultural Funds for Rural Development, European Maritime and Fisheries Funds, all will come under this integrated approach for the four funds, and we await to see the monies of that. So it's a three-themed selected for the Scottish programmes. A massive opportunity for colleagues within the construction sector, and that's why we're happy to present here today. So we'll be looking at competitiveness, innovation and jobs, which is a great interest for the construction sector, environment, low carbon and resource efficiency. And it's interesting to note that at the moment there is a proposal for a low carbon fund on the table, and that will be to assist infrastructure projects to become to investment stage, and that would be really useful, I think, to look at the local development and social inclusion. Okay, now I want to talk to you a little bit about Interreg and the opportunities that can present either for leading into Horizon 2020 project, or if you have a Horizon 2020 project, how you could also then go on to get structural funds through the support of Interreg. So, what do we need? What's the eligibility criteria there? The eligibility criteria there is public sector and private sector engagement, but must be public sector led. So it's got to involve at least two partners from different countries. What will they be looking at? They'll be looking at cross-border challenges and issues of common interest. The programmes are based on a geographical basis, areas 4A and 4B. Interregional cooperation, European-wide, similar to last time. The geographical areas will be much the same, and in my next slide I'll show you the maps of that. We envisage that the budget will be slightly increased, and currently Scotland will be eligible for about 11.9 billion. So a significant amount of money, a significant amount of opportunities for the construction centre. We're not expecting the eligible areas to change radically. Of course, it's not had the final sign-off at member states level, so we wait with interest. The secretariats and the PMCs are currently working on new programmes. I do and can see a number of colleagues here who have been involved in the consultation process for that. Scottish stakeholders have been heavily involved in that, and that's been fantastic to see. And the Scottish Government, very, very active in engaging in the consultation process. This is where I begin to feel a little bit like the weather again, where you can see the maps. These slides will be, of course, on the Scotland Europa website, but it's interesting to note that within all of the programmes, the geographically based programmes, it covers most of Europe and beyond. There's a number of themes running through that. You can see innovation is really key, low carbon, resource efficiency, environmental and resource efficiency, SME competitiveness, and I think that's something that we've spoken a lot about today, and again, massive opportunities within the construction sector. So I want to also then now speak a little bit about life and opportunities that can be presented within the life programme. So what can you, it's broken up into sub-programmes. So first of all, you could look at environment and resource efficiency, biodiversity, environmental governance and information. Again, quite a massive opportunity for colleagues within the construction centres. And then the next action, climate action for sub-programmes for 2014 to 2020. Climate change mitigation, this is new from the previous programme. Climate change and adaptation, massive emphasis on that. Climate change and governance and information, and you can see the budget is very substantial, 3.445 billion. 55% of that is ring-fenced for natural and biodiversity, 15% for transnational projects. I think that's interesting too. So what do they wish to fund? They want to look at pilots, they want to look at demonstrations, they want to look at best practice, on integrated projects, nature, water, waste, that has come very high up on the agenda, climate change, mitigation, adaptation, as I said earlier. Who can apply? Either a single country or transnational cooperation. So it can be a single entity, it can be one project, but as with previous speakers, Elise Morad spoke earlier about the benefits of SMEs, and we could have a single application. There has to be added value for the EU and learning there. So the grant rate is 60 to 75%, attractive, and that's really useful. Now I want to also talk to you a little bit about technical assistance money that is available through the European Local Energy Assistance. So what can be funded through this programme? Staff and consultancies for development of investment programmes and projects. Grants up to 90% technical assistance, it's very high. Who can apply? Local authorities and other public sector bodies, but SMEs can participate. Also, another fund that's available under the structural funds and cohesion funds is European Energy and Efficiency Facility, EEF. Grants for technical and financial preparation of investment projects to be financed. Again, who can apply for this money? Public authorities, preferably at a local or regional level, or companies, public or private, acting on behalf of local energy utilities, ESCOs, CHPs, companies, transport operators, construction companies. High level of investment expected here. Energy efficiency is the major thing about this. It's about looking at targets for 2020. Heard a little bit earlier about the innovation centres, also looking at construction, which I think would be really a useful way to look at this one through the innovation centres. Energy efficiency, renewables in buildings, street lighting, direct heating, transport. Massive opportunities for academia here and construction, bringing new models to the market. And finally, because I know that I'm the last speaker here and I've been asked to just do a brief presentation, you want to keep folk from their lunch, I want to talk to you a little bit about Erasmus and the new EU programmes for education for training, youth and sport. So what is Erasmus? Erasmus is going to be a new European programme for learning programme from 2014 to 2020. So it replaces some of the existing programmes that were around before, Erasmus, Leonardo, Grundig. It will also have an opportunity to incorporate international programmes. So there is a greater simplification here and streamlining, focus on EU added value. It's an estimated 15 billion, most of which will be on learning, mobility and access across all aspects of Europe. Great opportunity here for universities and great opportunities for higher education authorities, colleges, public sector partnerships, and great opportunity for SMEs to be involved. So what is new? What is new in this programme? What is new in this programme is there is a support for formal and informal education, training at all levels, a separate budget line for youth, particularly in the context of informal learning, support for grassroots sport, and also a master's facility, increased for focus on international cooperation. You can see from the slides here, there is three actions. So the first action is around learning mobility of individuals, which the master's facility loan grant can be available to individuals within companies and within higher education institutions. Transnational and international mobility of youth and students very much encouraged. Apprentices, staff, training staff, travelling staff, developing of their portfolios on a transnational basis. Action 2, cooperation for innovative and exchange of good practices, again across the EU. Looking at strategic partnerships, so aligned again to the way in which the Scottish Government and stakeholders and partners are thinking within Scotland and thinking across Europe. Knowledge alliances, sector skills alliances. This will be again a very useful thing to look at for within construction, renewables, etc. IT support and platforms, a big emphasis on IT support, software, infrastructure, learning, and knowledge exchange. So the key actions for Pillar 3 is around support for policy reform. Really important. We touched a little bit about that earlier today, the work of Scotland Europa. So what we want to look at is EU educational policy, implementation, transparency, really important to the Commission and important, I'm sure, to everyone here in the room, in terms of negotiation tools and policy dialogue. Finally, on the right-hand side is actually the pillars and the strategic way in which it will be taken forward. So it's around learning mobility, cooperation, master's loan, Humanit and sport. I am very, very happy to take any questions that anyone may have, either via the web or here. But I can't emphasise enough how important it would be if you have detailed questions, but we will take questions of other experts within the room who can speak on some of the separate ones. So please, if you have any questions, it will be my pleasure to take them.
Any questions in the room, first of all? Everyone is behind me. Oh, just the question.
Do you have a feel for the position of overheads within the civil department? Because I know that within Interreg that they said they were offering 50%, but it was actually much less than 50% because it was difficult evidence.
I think it's going for flat rate is the new one, so 25% is a flat rate, and not all of the Interreg programmes, because the operational programmes are still being developed, have their intervention rate. For example, we do know that the cross-border is going to be 85%. Yes. I'm very happy to speak to folk in the afternoon about any projects that they may have or be interested in. I'm delighted to do that. And there is very good examples, just because my timing is quite short, of how these funds have assisted FP7 projects, structural funds projects. So we will be able to speak in great detail about that this afternoon.
Is there any other questions from the floor? Just the gentleman at the far right.
Examples of sport projects.
I don't have off the top of my head any examples of, but that is something that we can get.
The emerging islands to some cross-border project, and then goes to Iran and the marine sector, and then they mark to the regions of knowledge in Africa and so on. So then some of this group and use as a staple to access towards other research concepts. It's a way to
I can explain what you mean to that.
attract lower potential partners and improve the capacity towards future programs. So probably then you're trying to implement
You've just pointed me looking and mentioned UHI, which was a project directly around sport, which was from UHI and from the colleges to the Interreg cross-border programme. It was for outdoor pursuits with the teaching of lecturers and unfortunately that application was not successful because it was in the last round of the previous Interreg programme. We had 99 applications, but it was very close. It was actually very close, and there will be a theme for that kind of activity under social inclusion and learning in the Interreg programmes. I'd be delighted to speak to you through lunch.
Okay, is there any final questions? Thank you very much, Caroline.